Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wassalam ala khatim al-anbiya ashraf al-mursaleen. So there's a question about transgender and what are the rulings having to do with them, and does a woman have to wear hijab in front of a transgender man? Well, the answer is absolutely yes. A Muslim woman has to wear hijab in front of a transgender man who decides, like this, to dress up as a woman. Why? Because what we talk about in the books of fiqh of a khuntha is not a transgender. That is called in English intersex. There used to be called hermaphrodites, but today the acceptable term is intersex. In the Arabic, the khuntha. What is that? It is a general term used to refer to individuals born with biological sex characteristics, genitalia, that are not typical that of a man or a woman. They have a birth defect where they don't have a fully functioning either part of a man or a woman or both, and there are many different types. And in the books of fiqh, these are discussed. There is khuntha mushkil wa khuntha ghayr mushkil. And how to deal with each situation is discussed. There is no sin on them. There is no problem because this is how they're born. And that's why Imam al-Nawawi and al-Haythami, Ibn Qudama and al-Mughni discussed these issues, that how would we deal if they are khuntha mushkil, it's difficult, how will we deal with that, or if they are clear towards one gender or the other, and how we deal with that, no problem. But that's not what we're talking about. Transgender is not a khuntha. Khuntha is intersex. Transgender in the books of Sharia are called mukhannathin, mukhannatha, the one who is a man and decides to dress up as a woman, or mutarajjilat, or a woman who is a perfectly functioning biological woman, but she decides, I'm going to be a man. That's what a transgender is. Transgender is denoting or relating to a person whose sense of personal identity, what they choose to identify with, and the gender that they were born with does not correspond. So their sense of personal identity and the gender that does not correspond with what they were born. Let me explain that clearly. Somebody is born as a man, perfectly normal birth, and when they're, let's say, in their 20s or 30s or 40s or whatever else, they decide that I'm going to be a woman. No biological issues, no genetical defect. They just decide, I'm going to be a woman. Maybe on the weekend, I'm going to dress up like a woman. I'm going to throw female garb on, and I'm going to go make TikTok videos or YouTube or whatever. And then when Monday comes, I'm just going to dress like a man and go to work and just live a regular life. That's transgender. Or somebody may decide all the time, from now on, I'm a woman, and I'm going to dress like a woman, and I want you to call me a woman, even though at birth, they were born perfectly functioning men. Or the other way around, a woman. She was born as a woman, biologically, she's a woman, everything's fine, but she decides from now on, I want to be called a man. That is not a khuntha. That is a mukhannatha or mutarajjila. Tayyib. What is the Islamic ruling? On the khuntha, there is no sin on them. They were born that way, no sin on them. But on the mukhannatha, in the hadith that Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma reports in the Sahih of Imam al-Bukhari, no doubt to the authenticity, he says that an-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, la'ana mukhannathina min al-rijal wa mutarajjilat min al-nisa. He sent the curse upon the men that dress like women and the women who dress like men. This is the curse of Allah, the curse of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is upon them. And to be very explicit what that is not a khuntha. Let me be very explicit from the hadith that is in the Sunan of Abu Dawud. Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu says, La'na Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sent curse upon a rajul, and a man who wears libsatul imra'a, who wears the clothing of a woman. Wa imra'ata talbasu libsatul rajul, and a woman who wears the clothing of a man. Not on the khuntha, but on the mukhannath. So this is a differentiation. Now, back to the question. If there is a khuntha, they have their own rulings. But if there is, and again, the khuntha are very few. Less than 2% in the whole world are even within that category of mushkil and ghair mushkil, about 1.7%. Now, the transgender, mukhannathin, those people are perfectly biologically functioning men, and they decide they want to be women. Here, the Muslim woman must wear hijab in front of her. If she knows that this is a transgender man who is actually a man, just dressed up like a woman, like this, you have to wear hijab in front of him. This is foolishness. Who would allow this? And if any guy like this wants to come pray in the women's section at our masjid, bro, it's not happening. Trust me, it's not happening. Right? This is wrong. Look, we as Muslims are considerate, we want to show mercy, but not at the expense of selling out our religion. We have our religion, the religion of Allah. What Allah has ordained, what the Prophet ﷺ has ordained, this is rahmah. This is mercy. Rahmatul Alameen this is the Sharia. Not that you play with it any way you want. And fear Allah. Those on TikTok and YouTube and Twitter and this and that, if you don't know the rulings, if you haven't studied the Sharia, if you haven't studied the Quran and the Sunnah, and you don't know, don't make up your own rulings. Don't play with the Sharia. You will be responsible in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.